So we've been deriving the demand curve and looking at that relationship between price and the amount that consumers are willing and able to buy. We're now going to look at what is called price elasticity or elasticity of demand. So when we talk about elasticity of demand or price elasticity, what we are looking at is how responsive quantity demanded is to a change in price. So when we change the price, how sensitive are people to the price change? Does the amount that they are willing and able to buy change a lot or change a little? So we have the ideas of elastic and inelastic demand. With elastic demand, when you change the price, the amount people are willing and able to buy changes a lot. So there's a big difference in the quantity demanded when you change the price. Inelastic demand, for that same change in price, the quantity demanded will change very little. So we're looking at how sensitive people are to price change. And to help us with this discussion, let's imagine that you've just inherited a movie theater from your long-lost uncle. That same long-lost uncle from our previous example who gave you $1,000 in the mail. So you just inherited the movie theater, you're now in charge, and you have to make some decisions. Tickets are currently $15. You need to figure out how you're going to increase the number of seats that are filled. So we need to know a couple things. Let's assume that at the price of $15, so that's right here at $15, that we are able to sell 100 tickets. So the amount that people are willing and able to buy at a price of $15 is 100. So quantity demanded is 100 at a price of 15. Now you're trying to figure out how to increase that number of tickets. So how can you get more seats to be filled? What if you lowered the price of your ticket? What would happen to the quantity of tickets that people were willing and able to buy? Well, according to the law of demand, so first, what is the law of demand? The law of demand says that if the price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. We've looked at that in our previous videos. The question here is how much does quantity demanded go up when the price goes down? And I should probably not write where you can't see. So when the price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. But the question is, how much does quantity demanded go up? Well, let's look at some scenarios. Scenario 1, we drop the price from $15 down to $10, and quantity demanded goes from 100 to 300. So we drop the price, quantity demanded goes up, and in this case it went up by 200 units. Now that's not necessarily what's happening. It is possible that when we drop the price from $15 to $10, that what happens is the quantity demanded goes from 100 to, let's say, 150. So notice in this case, they both follow the law of demand. The price went down, quantity demanded went up. But the question is, how much did quantity demanded go up? In this case, it went up by 200. In this case, it went up by 50. So we need to understand what that means and why we should care. Why does it matter how sensitive people are to price change? Well, we need to understand some terms, elastic and inelastic. So we said that elasticity of demand or price elasticity looks at how sensitive people are to price change. So we need to know kind of what it means to be more elastic or more inelastic. And one of the best ways to help you remember is to think about an elastic. Okay, so in Canada, we call rubber bands elastics. And what does it mean to be elastic? Well, notice how when I pull the elastic, it changes. So when we talk about elasticity of demand and demand being elastic, when you change the price, quantity demanded changes a lot. So notice when I pull on this, I get a big change in size. It's quite sensitive or responsive to the price change. You change the price, the amount people are willing and able to buy changes a lot. In comparison, something that is inelastic, and I apologize, I didn't have any string, so I'm going to use the string that's attached to my flashlight here, but here's a piece of string. Now, when something is inelastic, when you tug on it, it's not changing. It's not changing very much, right? It goes from this size to that size. So inelastic demand, you change the price, and quantity demanded changes a little. That is, we're not very responsive to the price change. So we need to figure out, how do we know if something has elastic or inelastic demand? What causes it to be more elastic or inelastic? And why a business would even care about how responsive customers are to a change in price. We can start to get indications about elasticity of demand by looking at the demand curve. Now, the slope of the demand curve tells us about the elasticity of demand. It doesn't tell us the exact elasticity of demand. We'll look at that in a later video. But we can look at the slope of the demand curve to help us understand a little bit more about how responsive our customers are when it comes to the amount they're willing and able to buy, quantity demanded, to a change in price. So let's just look at it from a graphical perspective here. So here we have two graphs, two demand curves. They both follow the law of demand. You change the price, and there's a change in the amount that customers are willing and able to buy. On the left, we have a steeper demand curve. And notice here that when you change the price, what happens to the amount that consumers are willing and able to buy? Changes a lot or changes a little? On the right, we have a graph with a much flatter demand curve. We do the same change in price, and here you can see when you drop the price, what happens to quantity demanded. So on the left, there's a little change in the quantity demanded, and on the right, there's a much bigger change in quantity demanded for the same change in price. So a steeper slope tells us that when we drop the price, quantity demanded will increase, but by a little bit. So is this more elastic or inelastic? Change the price, the amount customers are willing and able to buy changes a little. So this is more inelastic. In comparison, here on the right, when we change the price, the amount that consumers are willing and able to buy, right, changes quite a bit. So the price falls, the quantity demanded increases by a lot more. So in this case, we have more elastic or inelastic demand. We have more elastic. So a steeper demand curve is more inelastic. Customers are less sensitive to the change in price. You can change the price and the amount people are willing and able to buy doesn't change very much. Well, why does this matter? Well, what if, as a company, you want to raise the price? In this case, if you raise the price, you'll lose some customers, but not a lot. Whereas the inelastic demand, if you decide to raise the price, you lose a lot more of your customers. So businesses care whether their demand is more inelastic or elastic. It helps you figure out whether lowering the price will get you more customers It also helps you determine whether or not you can increase the price and how much it'll impact your bottom line.